Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day. So this video is going to be me talking about the books that I'm most excited for that are coming out in June 2018, next month, in the UK. So I started this series last month and I got quite good feedback, so I hope you enjoy it. So I'll just launch right into it, and the first book is actually a paperback. I will be mixing in some paperback releases in with new hardback releases because quite often I tend to wait for the paperbacks to come out because they're both cheaper and easier to carry around. The first one I won't be buying myself because I actually have the hardback, but I didn't hear many people talk about it and I would really like a lot of people to go and buy the paperback so they can see how great it is. But it's the Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley. Now she's the author of The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, which was very popular and you probably have heard about. But as I said, yeah, I didn't hear all that many people talk about the Bedlam Stacks when it came out around this time last year. I made an entirely separate review when it first came out last year, so I'll link that below and also above. So you can watch that if you want, but in brief, it's set in 1859 and it follows a man who travels to Peru in search of a cure for malaria which can be found in the cuttings of a rare and protected tree. The book also has a quite fantastical, magical realist element which at so many points made me feel like, is this real or has the author invented this? And I think it really explores Peruvian superstition and mythology while also being really sensitive about it. If you have read The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, there are also a few crossovers from that book into this one, so if you've read that one I would definitely recommend this one. Next, on to some releases from Penguin, and one that's coming out on the 4th of June is I think going to be one of the biggest releases of this whole year and definitely a bestseller across the summer. And it's one that I'm probably not going to buy myself, but I'm very interested to hear what people think, and it's The President is Missing by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. I've never actually read James Patterson and I'm not very interested in his writing, which is why I might give this a miss at least to start with, but it is written in collaboration with a former President of the United States, and the premise of it is that it envisages a scenario where the President of the US has been kidnapped. And I feel like in this day and age that might actually solve more problems than it creates, but nevertheless it's a very interesting idea to explore. On the 7th of June is The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner, which is following a young woman who has been sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 6 years and is serving her term at an all-women's prison. She's been forced to leave her 7-year-old son behind in the care of her estranged mother, and this book follows her everyday struggles in this prison and the trauma she's experiencing until she receives some news from outside and makes her want to escape her own destiny. So this one is definitely reminiscent in ways of the Netflix series Orange is the New Black, and I'm really interested to see how this deals with institutionalisation and prison life, particularly for women. Also on the 7th of June is The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer, and this one follows a young woman who starts to explore feminism after she meets a women's rights activist in college. The blurb is quite vague, but it says that she pursues a career as a result of this burgeoning feminism, and it draws her away from her high school sweetheart. And I've heard really good things about this one already, and I think it's going to be really good. On the 14th of June is A Place for Us by Fatima, Fahreen, Mirza. This debut novel follows an Indian Muslim family preparing for the marriage of their eldest daughter, who is marrying someone out of love rather than out of tradition, and their fear is that the younger brother, who is estranged from the family, may cause problems at this wedding. It apparently explores themes of generational difference, identity and belonging, and it's already been widely hyped in the US because it's the first book that's going to be published by Sarah Jessica Parker's new imprint at Hogarth. On the 28th of June is one that I'm particularly excited for, and it's called The Penguin Book of Japanese Short Stories. It's curated by Jay Rubin, a really prolific translator of Japanese work, and introduced by Haruki Murakami, one of my favourite authors and definitely my favourite Japanese author. It's an anthology of translated short stories from Japanese authors from the 19th century up until the present day, mixing together well-known authors and also some new names, and it's a bit more expensive because it is an anthology. It'll be £25, but I know there'll be some of you who are also quite excited about this. There are also quite a few Penguin English Library editions coming out in June. These are the ones that are paperback, cheap editions. They're usually $5.99 of classics. They have orange spines and their covers are designed by Corley Bickford Smith. And the ones that I am particularly excited for coming out next month are To the Lighthouse, The Great Gatsby and 1984. But you should check out the full list because there are quite a lot of quite famous classics that are being released in this format next month. Next on to Canongate, and they have a release next month that I'm quite looking forward to, and it's called He Is Mine and I Have No Other by Rebecca O'Connor. Coming out on the 7th of June, it's set in the 1990s in Ireland, and it follows the devastating nature of first love and secrets. It's told from the perspective of Lanny, a 15-year-old girl who has fallen in love with a boy whose mother is buried in the cemetery next to her house. I've heard really good things, and I actually did some work at Canongate while they were promoting this book, and everyone there said it was great, so I'm looking forward to it. From Quercus on the 14th of June is quite an interesting sounding one. It's called The Consolation of Maps by Thomas Bourke. It's about Kenji Tanabe, who sells antique maps in Tokyo before receiving a job offer from a woman called Theodora Apple in the US. The book, according to the publisher, charts an attempt to understand the tide of history, the geography of people, and the boundless territories of loss. And apparently it does include a fair bit of cartography, so I'm not sure how accessible it is if you don't know a lot about maps. I certainly don't know much about maps, but I really like reading books about a topic that I know nothing about to introduce me to them, so I'm hoping that this book will be like that. From Picador on the 28th of June is Crudo by Olivia Laing, and it's her first piece of fiction after writing quite a lot of non-fiction. And it's a novel that follows a woman living in the summer of 2017 trying to come to terms with the fact that Donald Trump is the President of the United States and the fact the UK is leaving the EU, so very familiar territory for a lot of us. It seems to deal with quite similar themes politically as Ali Smith's Winter, a book I absolutely loved, but I imagine it's quite a different style. I don't think anything could be particularly similar to Ali Smith. But I've heard already really good things about it, and it's been quite widely hyped, so I have high hopes. And lastly, from Hodder on the 14th of June is The Mercy Seat by Elizabeth H. Winthrop. This book is set in 1943 in Louisiana, and it follows a young black man who's been sentenced to death and is in the final hours of his life before he will be killed on the electric chair. He's been convicted of raping a white girl, a crime that he denies, and the novel takes the format of being from the perspective of 9 different characters connected of him, and it's an exploration of the death sentence, injustice, and racism in the US. So those are all the books that I've come across that I'm particularly looking forward to next month, but I'm sure there are others that are also equally exciting, so let me know if there are any that are on your to-be-read list for next month. And I will see you very soon. Bye bye!